Welcome to the Texas Values Report. This is Jonathan Saenz, president of Texas Values. Great to be with you on another glorious week in the state of Texas. Hope you're doing well. Kids are back to school. If you didn't see our back to school toolkit, go to txvalues.org. It's a blog post. It's got a downloadable one-pager with all kinds of information, updates about what your rights are as parents, what the rights are that kids have, important information that you're going to want to know as your kids get settled into back school. Maybe they're not back yet. Some kids maybe not have started. Mine started on Monday. But check that, txvalues.org. We're talking about religious freedom, parental rights, not allowing, sexual content, a lot of those different things, some new updates to the law. Sex education is opt-in still in the state of Texas. In other words, if the school does not have permission from you, if they don't have an email from you, if they didn't send you a document that you've signed, they have to have prior permission from you beforehand before they teach anything about sex ed. So check our website for more of that information. Send it to friends, post it on social media. If you're new to the show, we talk about the issues of faith, family, and freedom in the arenas of the courts, the legislature, and the media. We've been running for over 6 years. I lost count of how many episodes that is. We'll post it later. And we talk about these issues as they focus on Texas, but sometimes we'll talk about some things from a national perspective, but as they relate to Texas and matter for the state of Texas. And look, we're coming out of the summer, if you will, even though it's August and things have got a little bit hotter, so people are feeling like maybe summer has just arrived. But, when we turn that corner, right, kids go back to school, football season starts, all those different things happen that we're used to, it sort of marks us going into the fall, and this is important fall. We've got a presidential election on the table. In Texas, we have a Senate race. Senator Ted Cruz is running for re-election. And we have a lot of activity going on throughout the country as it relates to the presidential race, a lot of stirring up of issues that we talk about or discussions about them. And we've got some big things that have happened on our issues, and I want to discuss some of those. But, a big focus is what's going to happen in the legislative session in January. So we've got a great guest today to talk to us about those different issues. He's also a friend, hails from the city of Houston. Briscoe Cain and I did some work together before he became an elected official, and it used to be real easy to get in touch with him. Now I got to go through several people. I'm just kidding, but I appreciate the work that he's done because I've seen him come up through that time, a leader before he even ran for office, and the pro-life issue has always been a big issue for him amongst others. But I've also been able to see what it's like when you have someone like him who is so connected and so deep and well-versed, and he cares about the issues. When that person is in an elective office, you can really get some great things done. As a matter of fact, he was the first one to file a Texas heartbeat law. Briscoe Cain is going to be our guest today. Representative Cain, welcome back to the Texas Values Report.
Howdy, Jonathan. Man, hey, quick correction. I'm not from Houston. Do we say we're from Houston? Because that's how people know us. Because you and I both aren't technically from Houston. But I want to brag on you guys.
Yeah.
I do it every time, right? Your mission, standing for faith, family, freedom in Texas. Other people try and do that. They don't do it as well. But Texas Values is by far the most effective social conservative organization in Texas. Period. I mean, there's a lot of groups that try, but you guys are there all the time. Period. Your staff or you, we constantly see you guys. So I just want the people that are donors of yours, guys, if you're one of those like me that's even giving small dollars, right? I give less than 10 monthly. It's going to work. Just want y'all to know that. Quick plug.
Well, I appreciate that. And look, it's going to be on full display September 13th and 14th for our policy event. We're hoping, and I believe Representative Cain is going to be a part of that, but that is our annual event. It's going to be in Austin, in the Hill Country, near Lake Travis, a lot to see. We're not going to be in downtown Austin. You don't have to worry about some of that drama and stuff that goes along with that. We're going to be just outside the city, typical zone there at Great Hills Baptist Church. 2-day policy conference, Chip Roy, Governor Mike Huckabee, Save Women sports leaders, Tom Oliverson. We'll talk about him in a minute. Coach Joe Kennedy, football coach, won his prayer case to the U.S. Supreme Court. A lot of great stuff. But today we're going to talk to Briscoe Cain. We're going to talk with Representative Cain about two main issues. Number one, the life issue and some recent developments that relate to Kamala Harris, who's running for president. But also we're going to spend a good chunk of time talking about what's going on with the Speaker of the House situation in the Texas House? We know that Dade Phelan was challenged in his primary. He was pushed to a runoff, just barely survived with a few hundred votes to move forward to the general election. But Tom Oliverson, Shelby Slauson came out and announced their candidates to challenge the Speaker of the House. Well, hadn't been a lot of talk about that in the past couple of months. We're going to have an update on that. But Representative Cain, you and I have done a lot of pro-life work together over the years before you became in this position. And one of those big issues was the issue of baby body parts and undercover videos and things happening that gave us a window, if you will, and evidence of things we knew for quite some time of what the abortion industry was involved in. And so it was a couple of years ago when that was really moving, but there was an update on that recently. So I want you to talk a little bit about that, but why it matters now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jonathan, that goes back to late 2015, and then about January 2016 when you and I stood out in front of Planned Parenthood Gulf Coast.
We were on the curb. It was me.
Was back in the news again.
It was me, you, a camera, and I think Burgundy was there. It was like,
Yep. We were, I don't know which child we were with, but I believe she was pregnant. And what's funny about you have to stand on the curb there because if you stand in the grass, you'll get arrested.
Yeah.
It's a side story, but Planned Parenthood Gulf Coast in Houston owns its easement in a really weird way, and they're like the only building that does, and it's odd that they even would. So you can't even you gotta be careful where you pray in front of that building is the point. And so of course we released the invoices and purchase orders that backed up the videos. Oddly, people still call it conspiracy. So when those videos came back out that were finally released because Kamala Harris seized them and prevented their publication, people were saying, "Oh, they're back to this conspiracy again." And the people need to know that it was Kamala Harris who seized these documents from being able to be used and seen by the public to know what was going on. And of course, now it's able to come out this many years later when the issue has died down. And people need to remember, this was her. She's responsible for this.
Yeah, a lot of people have forgotten about that, right? I mean, and there's not been a lot of focus on her for the most part as vice president, from time to time. And obviously with Biden running for re-election, even more reasons that people sort of focus on him and, didn't think all too much about her. Part of that is because, I don't remember what her numbers were, but it's not like she came anywhere close to winning the Democratic nomination for president of the United States in that circumstance. And so, look, these are situations where we're now being reminded, and rightly so, right? Not a total surprise that Biden's not the nominee. I do think it shocked a lot of people that the Democrats who, gripe and talk a lot about, democracy and the process have thrown all that away to just, push Joe Biden aside and throw her right into the mix to be the Democrat presidential nominee. But okay, so be it. This is where we are. Let's talk about her record, right? Obviously a lot of stuff that's happened during the time she's been vice president, she's got to own as far as that, Biden-Harris ticket in administration. But good Lord, you look at some of the stuff that she did as Attorney General, and she was in positions of California.
The lawfare. David Daleiden, the three behind the my group is David Leiden, Troy Newman, another one was so sorry, but they all get prosecuted in California under racketeering for doing undercover videos. They've got judgments against them in the hundreds of millions of dollars. What's Kamala Harris? So if you're not thinking that the lawfare that was coming out of the Biden administration against conservatives is bad, you got Kamala Harris, who was the top cop in California, who's trained in lawfare against conservatives that wants to be the president of the United States.
Yeah, look, that's
the threat now.
That's what they do in California too, right? It's like, that's why you see so many people leaving. That's why U-Haul is running out of trucks to come to Texas from California because, that's exactly what's going on. People are leaving left and right daily. I don't know how many people are coming into Texas from other states, over 1,000. And, but it is important. And so if you're watching on Facebook, share this, put it in some groups, get involved in the chat. Let's get more people a part of this conversation because this is an important one today. But let's be clear. The public, factual, and true record of Kamala Harris is one of being pro-abortion at probably the highest level. Kamala Harris is without question one of the biggest enemies of an unborn child that we have ever seen. I don't even think it's accurate or strong enough to call her radical, right? I mean, she's completely in a category almost of her own in the type of hostility and aggressiveness towards the unborn child. I'm not even sure she would protect a baby that is born outside of the womb as a result of a failed abortion. I think people have asked her about this, and I don't know that she's been real straight about it. And so babies are not safe under a Kamala Harris administration.
Yeah, look, when babies aren't safe, neither are you.
Yeah.
It's really simple. How does the government look at the innocent child if there's no respect there? They don't have respect for you, your family, your liberty, your freedoms. You're worthless.
Yeah, look, there's a lot to be concerned there. And not only the babies, but the pro-life, the nonprofit pregnancy care centers that are there to help the baby and the mother. All right, they give all the essential needs. In Texas, you can get those services from nonprofit pregnancy help centers up to 3 years of the baby's life, right? I mean, that's quite a good chunk of time.
The regulations on crisis pregnancy centers, as you know, can be kind of tough. And depending on who's at the feds, more inspections and shutting them down. We've seen them shut down in Texas for tiny mistakes, these technical errors. And depending on who's in charge, they're trying to find anything ticky-tacky to shut them down. And so it is a dangerous time.
It is. And so the Kamala Harris record is one of targeting unborn children, an enemy to babies, but also hostility towards these pro-life pregnancy centers that are just trying to help mothers and babies in these difficult circumstances. There is no doubt, right, that she will be someone who will aggressively pursue them with the Department of Justice and their cohorts over there. But not only that, she's attacked religious freedom of nominees before. A gentleman who had a connection to the Knights of Columbus was singled out because of his connection and the principles of that Catholic men's service organization. They're one of the largest men's organizations in the world. All right, we're not going to spend all the time talking about. Go ahead.
I'm optimistic, though. I'm optimistic. Look, I think that the generation that's coming up is going to be the most pro-life generation due to technology and information. So while we're talking about it being kind of fearing what could come, I'm optimistic. I know who's in charge, right? I know the king who's on the throne. And we can win, though. We can.
Yeah.
And so we got to keep spreading this message. The people who are listening to you, I hope they come to your meetings and stuff. We got to stay vigilant. Watching this show is not enough. So we need to keep spreading that word and growing the movement. That's all.
Well, and we've got that great event coming up on September 13th and 14th. We're going to have someone from California. Sophia Laurie, who is in an outreach position for the California Family Policy Council, our partner group over there in California. She's going to talk about, what it's like to have lived in that state under some of those regimes. But also, we have September 5th. We've got a showing of the new movie God's Not Dead and God We Trust coming out the first week of September. Showings in Austin and Fort Worth and maybe in Houston soon. All right, let's turn the page on this. The Texas House, where you serve and is a focus of a lot of our work. Legislative session starts in January. Bills can be filed in November. We don't know who's coming back yet for sure. I mean, there is an election in November for all the House members. Some of those seats it's fair to predict for sure without getting to that point. But a big question is, who's going to be the Speaker of the House? You posted on social media just a little bit ago that, you think we need a new leader at the Texas House other than Dade Phelan. Why'd you decide to do that?
Yeah, but they're fair questions. Look, I think a common term now is the reforms of the Texas House, and certainly the Texas House needs reforming. We need a process that is focused on what the majority want. We've got a Republican Party platform. We've got Republican Party priorities, and those things are often given a back seat, and they need to be prioritized. They need to be done early. It's just time. So while I think Dade Phelan's a nice guy, in fact, look, he helped us get the Texas Arbit Act. There's little doubt that he's a pro-life guy. But we negotiated far too much with the Democrats. And sadly, policies like that would sometimes also take a back seat. And it's time. It's time for a new speaker.
Well, look,
it's going to focus on school choice and the other social issues. Go ahead.
No, I mean, there's evidence all around us too, right? So, might not be a surprise if groups like mine and others that, the grassroots are saying that But this is members that have also been taking the lead on this. I mean, our lieutenant governor actively campaigned for David Covey to unseat Dade Phelan in that primary race, which Dade Phelan just barely survived, right? You saw a lot of other House members that got behind David Covey, who, disclaimer, is the younger brother of our policy director, Jonathan Covey. And our partner group, our C4 group, Texas Values Action, did endorse David Covey. But look, I mean, the record for Phelan is not good as we move forward. We detailed this. I mean, we had concerns when he came into office or into that leadership position in 2019 because he bragged about an amendment he put on a bill that served the LGBT movement. He knew exactly what he was doing. He went on a podcast and bragged about it. And then after that, Equality Texas gave him a positive rating and some recognition. This is one of the LGBT groups that is always fighting against our legislation, our pro-family legislation. It took way too long to pass the Save Women's Sports Bill in 2011. We had, 2 or 3 legislative special sessions to get that done. And then
there's no doubt.
Yeah, and then the gender transition bill, we got it done in 2023. Probably should have gotten it done in 2021, but we had to overcome 2, if not 3, points of order to get that done. But I think
Let's rephrase it. How about this? We had Joe Strauss, and we had Dennis Bonnen. Dennis Bonnen was better than Joe Strauss, right? Some might say Dade Phelan was better than Dennis Bonnen in some areas. Cool. Let's keep improving then. How about that? Like, that should be the goal. We're on a trajectory. Let's get even better. Let's go further. Let's have a speaker that represents the conservative movement. It's about time. It's happening, period. The question right now is who.
Yeah.
Okay. If the process is followed in the caucus, whereby we come together after the November election, the Republican caucus meets. Okay, according to the party platform and our rules, we're going to select a nominee by secure ballot. That's what the platform calls for, and that's the rules promulgated for the caucus. Right now, a majority of those members have said they want a speaker that will not appoint Democrat chairs. Have said they want a speaker that will put school choice up front, quick, and get it done. Make it a priority. That means a majority right now are planning to have to vote for someone else. It's that simple. I don't see how I can get the nomination in caucus. So, as long as people continue to pressure their members to stick to the rules and to nominate someone out of caucus, I think we prevail.
Well, and that would, look, if Phelan goes rogue and tries to get the Democrats on board, that now puts him in the category of Joe Strauss. That's how Joe Strauss came into office. Correct me if I'm wrong, Representative Cain, but that was prior to caucus rules and RPT language said we're not going to do that anymore. As a matter of fact, that RPT language, Republican Party of Texas, delegates voted and said, we don't want to be in that position because Joe Strauss only had 9 or 10 Republicans, but he got 65 or so Democrats as support, and then he secured that, and then when the vote came to the floor, it was a foregone conclusion. So Republican leaders said, we're not being in that position anymore. You've got to, the Republicans, who are in the majority, there's 86 in the House now. That number could change in November, could go up or down, but there is a clear majority of Republicans, so Republicans should be deciding who the speaker, and the Democrats shouldn't have a role in that. So my point is...
And we're going to. I believe we're going to. We call it the Texas legislative nerds would call that the Polo Road meeting that came up with the plan for Joe Strauss to get the Democrat support. That play has been made before, and now everybody knows about it. We're very aware. And also, it didn't have social media then. We didn't have the communications we have now where we can alert the grassroots of a play like that. And I've also discussed from people that were part of the Polo Road then that are still in the legislature. They've said there's no way we can make that play anymore. They'll get caught. They'll get thrown out of office if they do it. So I don't see that as a play. Of course, it's a risk. There's no way they'll do it. And if they do, I think they'll regret it.
Yeah, I mean, look, and if they were somehow if he was somehow to thrive or, to survive or to get away with that type of vote on the House floor, I think you would see multiple calls and requests for a vote to vacate the chair during the session. I saw that happen in 2017 with Tom Craddock. It was more towards the end of the session. It's incredibly disruptive. It kills legislation, and it'll cause all kinds of problems. It'd be a very selfish move on his part if Dave Phelan were to decide to do that and go rogue from Republican Party of Texas platform rules and also caucus rules. But who knows? We'll see. But we're going to find out pretty soon here where that issue is going to be. But let's back up a little bit more about why it's important. And you touched on this school choice, right? You had the lieutenant governor, you had Ken Paxton, you had a lot of other House members that were supporting David Covey against Phelan. And but one of the key proposals, if not, this was an emergency item for Governor Abbott, is school choice. Those House members that lost their seats, several, I think over 10, I remember the number of incumbents, Texas House Republican incumbents that lost their seats to challengers. Part of that was their vote on school choice, but part of that was the issue of the Ken Paxton impeachment trial. But Governor Abbott was the key player in that. He was the one putting a lot of the money. He was the one going around the state. He was messaging on it. He was a key factor and element in those seats and those changes. And his big item is school choice. And so I wouldn't be surprised if at some point Governor Abbott is in one way or another signaling that Phelan is in the way and he needs to go, particularly on school choice.
He has signaled that, but I'll tell you, anybody that either did not vote for school choice, the way we had the votes toward the end of session, right, to vote against the attempts to kill the bill on the floor, anybody that supported, killing the school choice bill or didn't vote on it is disqualified from being speaker. It's that simple. But there's other things that we need. Look, we still don't have, conscious protections for medical students or nurses on having to perform abortions. There's a lot that needs to be done on these issues, and I think having somebody in the speaker's chair that believes in those things and cares about them, and it's something that motivated them to be in the building. That's really the difference, right? Those of us who care about these things, it's why we were there. And then others who maybe got elected and now they're like, all right, well, this is the platform. I should support these things. But it's not the reason they get up in the morning, right? It's not the reason they leave their families for all of this stuff we go through there in Austin to focus on that, right? We're not there for the steak dinners. We're there to get policy done. And we need someone in the speaker's chair that respects that.
So, yeah, and so I want to drill down on this too a little bit more when it comes to some of the dynamics that are in play, right? As we, you'll have a vote in November, and a lot of times you'll see shortly thereafter, right? There'll be a Republican caucus meeting, so because now you know who those members are going to be. The legislative session gavels in January. You usually don't see a vote on the floor that is really of consequence. It's usually that caucus vote where that decision is made, and then people will come out publicly. But you've had Tom Oliverson that's already said, I'm running for Speaker of the House, challenging Dade Phelan. Shelby Slauson has said the same thing. And you've had a lot of members see that Dade Phelan could not protect his chairs or whoever, so to speak. Many of them lost because a lot of times that's the sequence, right? Or that's the element. Oh, the Speaker's going to give me some money to make sure I can be reelected. He had to focus so much on his race, he wasn't able to do that. So losing a little bit of his grip over some of that control as well. But look, the support for school choice to get stronger. But the Democrat chairs, I think, is one of the bigger issues, if not the biggest, that the grassroots are like, because some of us don't even know what legislation we could possibly, we know what could get done, but we're not even seeing anywhere close to, the possibilities, because you've always got Democrat chairs in there. You've had recently killing stuff before it even gets to breathe. And so I don't think Phelan has moved from that position at all. So I think it's fair to say he's on record of saying, or he continues to be on record of that he will appoint Democrat chairs, but you've now got this letter. Tell me about a little bit more about this letter that members came behind and signed that you think is a signal of, where the House leadership and that issue is going.
Well, it's a numbers game, right? So we come back with 86. Right now we've got 46 publicly committed, meaning we've got a majority of the caucus. So in order to get the nomination, you have to at least meet those minimum thresholds of making school choice an emergency item, going with the governor, and committing to essentially banning Democrat chairs, right? Follow the majority. If we have the majority, and we can do it, that you would have all Republican chairs. We also need to reform the rules. So even if maybe a conservative bill goes to a committee and it turns out we were wrong, right? Maybe the speaker thought that chairman was a conservative and they would move it, and they don't. Well, there's things in our rules book, in our parliamentary procedure book, that would allow you to maybe send it to another committee. That hasn't been done in ages, and speakers don't allow it or recognize you. So if we had a speaker that even allowed the majority to run the thing, to make standard motions, to be able to save bills or speed them up or re-refer them, we'd be in a better spot as well. Essentially to allow the majority to do it. Now, again, the rules were created to protect the minority, right? The majority could always do it. So of course the minority will still have its ability to fight it, but in the end of the day, the majority can still prevail, right? We can shut down the minority. But they're still represented, but that's what we need done. Right now, the majority has not been represented.
So this letter that the House members put together on some of these issues, can other House members join? I know you've already been public, but if other members wanted to sign on, we'll put a link to that letter. And look, that's for some people, out there, right? If your House member has not signed on to this letter, encourage them to do that, right? As some indication, maybe they're not out there publicly saying, I don't think Phelan should be speaker, but they're saying the next speaker needs to stand for these principles. That's important as well. So we'll post a link to that.
There's a school choice pledge out as well. I'll send it to you after this that y'all may want to put out. I think it's Liberty for the Kids is behind it, and we've got nearly 40 signatures on it, and it's about, if governor makes an emergency item, we want the speaker to prioritize it and move it quickly. That's also important, getting more members on things like that. So the more the merrier. Maybe I'll put some out as well.
Well, I've said it earlier this year, and I'll say it again. School choice is dead in the Texas House if Dade Phelan returns as speaker. And what that means is school choice is dead for the 2025 legislative session if Dade Phelan stays the speaker. Look, I could be wrong. I don't think I'm going to be. That evidence is very clear.
There's going to be more candidates I expect to announce in the coming time. I mean, I don't have knowledge of anybody saying they're going to be announcing soon, but we can sense it. We're around conversations. I wouldn't be surprised if 4 or 5 people come out in the next month or so.
All right, call your elected official. Let them know you want to see their name on this letter. You want to see them. You want to know where they stand on the issue of who, are they gonna vote for Dade Phelan to come back as speaker with all the problems and the concerns, or are they going to say we need to have someone new? Could be Tom Oliverson, could be Shelby Slauson, maybe somebody else comes forward. Yeah. We've said a lot of great things about Dr. Oliverson, but look, I mean, it can't be Dade Phelan. So, all right, we're about to run out of time. I don't want to be cutting you off. We're about to run out of time. Go ahead.
Oh, I do want to caution people on trying to get their member to commit to who, other than maybe the current speaker, right? Like, allow the process, because half of the purpose of us meeting in December after November to meet and pick somebody is the idea that it's not already predetermined, that it'll be organic, that people already have commitments. And so there is a slight fear that it would just look meaningless if we're pressuring people to commit to someone, if that makes any sense. More people will be coming out, allow members to do it. But you can say, hey, here's what we want. We want a speaker that looks like this, that won't do these things, that will make the priorities of the Republican Party priorities of that chamber. Whatever those things are that you want, be advocating for that to your member. Give them those standards, those keystones that you're looking for when they make that decision. Well, and ask them to commit to that.
Yeah, well, and it's my understanding, too, that even though Dr. Tom Oliverson, state representative from the Tomball area, that was the House author to protect kids from gender transition surgeries with SB 14 last year, even though he's been out there for a while, and probably the name has been talked about a lot, is challenging Dade Phelan and filing to be the next Speaker of the House.
Yeah, Tom got the conversation started about it.
Yeah, and Tom has said, Dr. Oliverson has said, hey, look, I'm open to someone else if that's what members want, but it can't be Dade Phelan. I think maybe Shelby Slauson has done the same thing. Listen, we're going to be talking about this at our policy forum. This is going to be a topic of a panel. Briscoe Cain's going to be there. Dr. Oliverson. Don't miss it. txvalues.org to get your tickets to see what we're doing. Representative Cain, sorry to cut you off there. You've been a great guest. We're going to be posting this later on social media so more people can get the benefit of it. Thank you for being our guest today on the Texas Values Report.
Thank you, Texas Values.
Appreciate you. All right, we're out of time. A lot to cover. There's some breaking news. Go to our website, go to our social media channels, and follow them there. Thank you so much. And actually, I'm going to put a hard stop, but this Facebook Live is going to continue, but a hard stop for our audio recording. So, and listen, if you care about the work, go to our website, txvalues.org, make that tax-deductible donation today, and that's how together we'll protect faith, family, and freedom in Texas. But I'm not stopping. Okay, so let me do an extended version on this Facebook Live. We have a radio station here in Austin where we simultaneously record the audio while we're doing this Facebook Live every week with our guest. But I'm going to extend it here on Facebook and share this with friends if you want to. I mentioned some stats and some facts about Dade Phelan. Go to txvaluesaction.org if you want to see the blog post that our partner organization put together and some concerns about Dade Phelan. Take a look at that information. But some big updates from our work. Some new speakers that are added to our policy forum. Of course, Governor Mike Huckabee is going to be the Friday night private dinner guest that's a part of this 2-day policy forum. Did you see my video on the balcony at the Oasis? That's where the dinner is going to take place. And I know if you've been to the Oasis overlooking Lake Travis, you're like, oh, it's a little bit casual. This is a dinner. This is a banquet dinner. They have a banquet hall at the top where they do weddings. People get all dressed up. We're not going to be in that regular crowd with the rest of people going to the restaurant. We have a private entrance. It's upstairs. We're not going to be semi-outdoors like the Oasis is. It's indoors. It's air conditioner. Trust me, we've been out there. It's very cool, great temperature. You'll be fine. But there's a balcony we're going to step out on for the VIP reception and the general reception because you got to see the sunset. That's why you go to the Oasis. They call it the Sunset Capital of Texas. This is going to be a fantastic weekend for you. Come in for the event. Take in the sights on Lake Travis, just about 10 or 15 minutes away from where our event is taking place. Stay out there, okay, for the weekend. There's a great location called Vintage Villas that we're partnering with to get people to stay out there pretty close to the Oasis, or you can take advantage of one of the hotels by Great Hills Baptist Church where the event is taking place. But Governor Mike Huckabee, former governor of Arkansas, presidential candidate in 2008, has a weekend show every week on TBN called Huckabee. I'm excited about that. Congressman Chip Roy has confirmed for our policy forum. He's going to have a lot to say. He's been really trying to put a lot of focus and heat on Texas Children's Hospital for the allegations of Medicaid fraud. He wants some answers. So do a lot of other congressional members. So he'll be there at our event talking about that. Sid Miller, our agriculture commissioner, statewide elected official, will be a part of the event. Coach Joe Kennedy, Corey DeAngelis joined the ticket, if you will, the lineup late last week, I think. He's a school choice leader, the school choice evangelist, I think some people may call him. Boy, does he get under the skin of the education and the teacher lobby, so to speak, public school lobby. So check that out. Morgan McMichael. Really up-and-coming, fantastic young lady who actually is from Texas. I didn't realize that, but she's a part of Turning Point USA. She's a part of their outreach in their work. She's one of those social media influencers, right, that you see, one of these young folks that's getting their message out. I saw her at RNC in Milwaukee, so she'll be there talking about, and I think we're going to have a Gen Z panel, maybe that she's going to discuss some of these issues from a younger perspective. So is Sophia Laura, I mentioned, from California Family Council. The two whistleblowers, speaking of Texas Children's Hospital, Dr. Eitan, I forget how to say it, Dr. Heim and Vanessa Sivage, these were the ones that pulled the curtain back. Okay, Dr. Heim said, hey, I think they're still doing these gender transitions, even though they said they weren't, last year at the time. And then Vanessa Sivage is out there saying, I think they're engaging in Medicaid fraud or they were to cover up these gender transitions, mislabeling things and all that kind of stuff in order to get Medicaid coverage for these type of activities. So, man, that panel is going to be just incredible, and you want to be there and listen. We're gonna have them there. Macy Petty, Save Women sports leader, former collegiate athlete. A lot of tremendous people. State Representative Ellen Troxclair. I think Briscoe Cain is going to be joining the lineup as well to be on that Speaker of the House panel. Speaking of that, Tom Oliverson, Dr. Oliverson, state representative, who's filed to be next Speaker of the House and challenge Dade Phelan. He's going to be there. Who's not going to be there? Okay, this lineup is absolutely incredible. I think this is the best collection I've seen in our work. That's no disrespect to people from the past. It's just the amount of them, the timeliness of it is going to be absolutely extraordinary. Now, I don't know if I can say it now or today, but we have a verbal commitment from a national speaker that you cannot miss. I'm telling you, the event's going to sell out once we announce his name. All right, I'll just give you that hint, but I'm excited about it. My 18-year-old son's like, Dad, so-and-so's coming. I said, yeah, I can't say anything publicly yet, but we have a verbal commitment, hoping to get that deal signed and announce that publicly. But look, we're going bigger and better this year, okay? And we don't, I mean, the truth of the matter is this event is to educate, motivate, and activate you on the issues of faith, family, and freedom. If you're a Texan and you care about the current status of our state on these values issues, you want to know what you can do. You want to know what's coming up in the legislative session. You want to know how you can message better and know what to talk about with your friends and neighbors coming up with this November election, because it's not just a presidential election on the ballot. You've also got Senator Ted Cruz, all the Texas House members, all the congressional members. You got some Senate seats. You got a couple of statewide seats. You got some local election stuff. Okay, there's plenty on the ballot that you need to be aware of, and you need to know about how to talk about these issues. I saw this week, I think yesterday, Kirk Herbstreit. Okay, as we head into college football season, he is one of the most well-known personalities at ESPN. Okay, he's a former collegiate college football player, but College Game Day is all about Kirk Herbstreit. He is with no doubt their most recognizable figure. I mean, we all love Lee Corso and some of those other guys. Tim Tebow makes an appearance every now and then, but there's no doubt Kirk Herbstreit, I mean, he's their brand. He came out this week or maybe the end of last week and said, enough already. He does not support men and women's sports. Are you kidding? I mean, this is sort of his response. Somebody asked him the question on X, and he said, of course not. They asked him, do you support men competing in women's sports? He's like, of course not, right? Like, duh. But then he kind of went on a rant about it on our show. We put that on our social media feed. As we posted, it does have some spirited language, okay? There's a 4-letter word that's used. It's not the worst one. We understand that's usually not how we communicate, but it's important for you to know what he's saying and that he was a little fired up about it. But he talks in that interview about how he's a Christian, right? And that's why these things matter to him, and there shouldn't be different rules about, even people like him being able to communicate. So the issues that we work on are taking center stage, not only for Texas and your community, but also at the national level in this presidential election and in this culture. It was talked about in the Olympics. I was walking my puppy this morning, okay? Me and Red went for a walk, as we like to do in the morning, and, I did have a certain baseball hat on. And, people were asking me about it, one of my neighbors, and, people want to talk about what's going on in the elections. Maybe you're that guy. Maybe you're that gal, that young lady, that young man that everyone kind of knows, you know a little bit more, or maybe you're in the mix and they ask you the questions. You want to become that person. Come to our event, September 13th and 14th. This is where you're going to get more equipped. I mean, if you care about Texas, if you care about our values, the Faith, Family, and Freedom Forum annual event on September 13th and 14th that Texas Values puts together, you got to be here, okay? And I promise you, you will leave with more information, with more excitement, more confidence, and some enthusiasm and a sense of responsibility. But not only that, but of the mindset, I can make a difference. I can be a part of the change. I can be a part of protecting Texas. We all have a key role to play. So if you come to the event on 13th and 14th, I promise you, you will leave that experience. And if for some reason you don't, we will give you your money back and apologize. I am so confident in that. This is the 7th year we've done it. It is not just to put on a big show and have fun. I love to have big parties and have a lot of people there and friends that, care about the work we do and we have a good time together. This is much more than that. This is a serious professional event. We're going to have some fun. Hey, we're going to have Chick-fil-A on Friday, okay, for the lunch, all right? And then we're going to have some Texas barbecue. I'm not sure where we're getting it from, but it's not going to be one of those national chains, okay? It's going to be a local, Central Texas, Hill Country brand that you're going to be like, wow, I need to come to this area of the state more often just for the barbecue, okay? That's what Central Texas is known for. Some of the best barbecue places coming out of Lockhart. Where are some of the other cities that are close here to Austin? Even in Austin, places like Franklin and others. You got in Driftwood, the Salt Lick. You got Black's Barbecue that's got, some locations here in the Hill Country that has a tremendous history. So come for the barbecue. I don't care. So let me lay this out for you, okay? 2-day policy event, all right? Starts at 10 o'clock on Friday, goes to 4 on Friday, 4 afternoon Friday. Saturday starts at 9:30, goes to 4 on Saturday. Now, the private dinner with Mike Huckabee is an additional charge. I want you to know that because it's a little bit more expensive to put that part of the event on, and it's out in the Oasis on Lake Travis. You got to eat dinner that night anyway. You might spend a little bit more money and have some fun with Governor Mike Huckabee. But the general admission, okay, and I cannot guarantee you it will stay at this price because the ticket sales are picking up, $25, okay? Have you had lunch lately in the drive-thru? We're giving you 2 lunches. You get lunch on Friday from Chick-fil-A. You get lunch on Saturday with barbecue, Hill Country, Central Texas barbecue, somewhere local. Okay, I'm not going to run through, some national chain drive-through and pick up a couple of chopped beef sandwiches. We're getting you something real and authentic. Okay, you're going to leave and go, man, the barbecue was good, right? The smell is still going to be on you when you leave Saturday, but you're getting lunch 2 days, and you're getting this incredible lineup of speakers. You might be able to spend some time with them. Now, if you get some of our high-level sponsorship packages, there is an opportunity to be backstage for the meet and greet with some of our VIPs, the people on this list, and the person I'm going to announce hopefully later this week that you're not going to want to miss. All right, that's going to cost you a little bit more, but it's going to be worth it. You want to volunteer for our event? I tell you this, we're going to have limited opportunities for this, but if you want to come volunteer, we will give you admission to the event for free, but also we'll give you a seat at that dinner with Mike Huckabee. I think we're only got 175 seats. It's not a huge venue, okay? But you kind of want to earn your way. That's a value of like a $250 ticket. Come volunteer with us for 1 or 2 days. Maybe you got to get service hours. This is a 501c3 event. It's not a political event. These people that are there are going to be talking about the issues. They're not going to be campaigning, all right? So maybe you get service hours at your school. My kid's high school, they got to get a certain amount of service hours. So we qualify that as a 501c3. But come volunteer. We'll give you a free ticket to the dinner Friday night in admission. Maybe you'll run into somebody important. Maybe you'll develop a relationship. Could be, your letter of recommendation. Could be your next job. I'm telling you, the people that are coming are the people you want to be around if this is what you want to do in the future, or you just want to be around them and be inspired. All right. Maybe your group wants to do a booth. We've got some great sponsors: Family Policy Alliance, First Liberty Institute, Patriot Mobile. We've got, trying to think here, John Paul II Life Center, our good friends Tim and Pat Von Dolen from right here in the Central Texas area, and many more that are going to be sponsors of the event. They're going to have booths set up. So maybe your group, I think the entry, like the lowest price for a booth is $100. Seriously. Okay, you go on to some of these other events lately, and I'm not putting those events down. I'm just saying they can get wildly expensive. CPAC, a booth that's like 8x6 is $5,000 for one, okay? And again, I'm not knocking them. I get it. They put on a great event, and they probably feel like, this is what's appropriate. We're asking for $100 for the most basic booth because we want to kind of get this trend of people bringing groups and booths started. We did it for the first time last year. We're doing it a second time this year, and I know we're going to build on it. We're going to have a media row. Local, state, and national media personalities that are going to be doing their radio shows and podcasts and all that good stuff. So maybe you're going to be a speaker, you're going to be and do an interview. Or maybe you're a media outlet, you want to interview Mike Huckabee. Well, that's the private dinner. He's not coming to the policy forum version. Congressman Chip Roy's going to be there. Coach Joe Kennedy. You want to ask Tom Oliverson, why is he running for Speaker of the House? Mary Margaret Olahan from the Daily Signal is going to be there. She's usually interviewing people, but maybe you want to interview her and find out what she's all about and what she's doing. Melissa Oden survived an abortion attempt. Okay, 7 months in the womb, all right? I mean, it's hard for me to even say it. Come listen to her describe what her life has been like, to have gone through that experience, to have lived later with it, and then as she got older, sort of knowing that happened, right? It's not like she was aware of what was going on when the abortion was happening, the failed abortion, thankfully, right? She survived it and now courageously talks about it and inspires other people to engage on this issue. So $25. Look, we're losing, I won't say we're losing money. That does not cover our cost for one person, but that's not what this event is about. We have had some incredibly generous underwriters that said, we want you to be in a successful position and bring the best and brightest for this event and put on a great event. So we've had some underwriters that have helped us with that. So, but part of charging $25 is we don't want families out there saying, I can't bring a couple of my kids. As a matter of fact, students are free. If you let us know you're a student, you're getting free admission. If you're a veteran or a senior, there's a discounted amount. We don't want cost to be the barrier, so to speak, but we want to at least put some amount so you've got some investment and some skin in the game so you remember to come, okay? But we want a full house, okay? I mean, look, I'm going to try to break the record this year. We want to try to break the record of the amount of people that we've had. We've had, I think, at the most, a little over 500 before. I'd love to double that, right? What am I doing? I'm saying that on social media live, right? Somebody's going to ask me later, what did you do? So be it. I've got faith in this event. I've got faith in the people of Texas and you, but I am counting on you to show up and tell your friends, but I'm trying to make it easy as well. because this information is life-changing. It is that important, right? We put a lot of time into picking the right people, knowing what the current issues are that people want to talk about. We know we've got some professional experience and background and insight that other people don't have. We want to give it to you, right? But if you want to upgrade that, you want the President's All-Access VIP package. It's kind of by invitation only. Well, you can request and maybe we'll consider you. That's hanging out with me a little bit. That's basically going wherever I go, but not everywhere, okay? But, I mean, as far as the event is considered, I'll get you into those places where we're going to have those private conversations with elected officials and some of these speakers. You get to have a conversation with me, pick my brain a little bit about it. And there's going to be a swag bag, super cool, right? Some of the sponsorship programs and levels have some very cool swag bags, right? Gift card for the domain. I think one of them is a gift card for one of the local barbecue places. One of the packages has a gift card from the Texas Capitol gift shop. Man, it's like a toy store for me, okay? When I go over there, they got all this amazing, memorabilia and all the things that just make, when you see it, you're like, this is why Texas is so great. The buildings and the history and the flags and all these cool cups and come and take it, this and that, right? All kinds of fun stuff. You're going to get a gift card. You go to Texas Capitol gift shop, have fun. Buy what, your heart desires. There's a lot of cool stuff over there. One of my favorites, though, is one of the higher end package. I think it's a $200 gift shop to the King Ranch Saddle Shop. Have you been to this place? It's unbelievable. You step in, and I'm not sure if they still have a store. I know I've been there in Kingsville. Maybe they relocated it. The smell of leather, of Texas leather, when you walk in the room just is all over you, okay? It is absolutely extraordinary. And you got, cowboy hats, you got saddles, you got boots, you've got, luggage, all these different things that are just dyed in, right? It just soaks up every bit of Texas history and what we care about in our state. You can just smell it and feel it. It's distinctive. You're not going to find any of those things anywhere else, okay? They are unique. King Ranch was the biggest, boldest, ranch in the state of Texas. It's a little bit smaller than it used to be, but its legacy is alive and well. I mean, Ford has a division, an addition of some of their vehicles just in Texas that are King Ranch brand. So that's a $200 gift card. Actually, I'd love that. Okay, somebody sponsor that and let me have it. I always tell my kids, you want a gift for dad? Here's the King Ranch catalog, right? Set me up with something for there because, and I've only been in there, I think, once, but you can order online. A lot of good stuff there. All right, I'm going on and on about our event because there's a lot to offer. We have a private screening that same weekend on Sunday evening. God's Not Dead. They've got a new series of that movie coming out called In God We Trust. It's got an election theme to it. Absolutely extraordinary. I ran into David A.R. White, kind of the main actor, the pastor that's kind of got the blonde hair and all that stuff, the goatee. That's in all of them. I ran into him at RNC, and man, I was fired up to see him. And his producer was with him. I was like, I want your card. We want to help promote your movies. It was like, that sounds great. Let's connect. So we're doing that in Fort Worth on Monday, September 9th. All right, probably going to put Vince and Mona Puente, Mr. and Mr. Fort Worth, in charge of that event. But then on Sunday, the showing for God's Not Dead and God We Trust private screening is going to be September 15th. Watch our website and our email for details on that. Look, we had a very eventful week last week. The CWA Pink Bus Tour came through here. We also had an interim charge hearing at the state capitol that we were involved in on school choice, making our voice heard on that issue, showing up at the capitol as we do. We've had some great interns. They're about to end their time with us and go back to school, giving them great training on some of the work we do, real world stuff. They're not just, making coffee and making copies. They're right in the mix. That's what we do. And so a lot's been happening here on our work. But look, as we roll into the school year, make sure you know your rights. Make sure other people know them as well. And, I didn't even get to recap the event we had in Midland with Riley Gaines on the Save Women's Sports issue. Absolutely phenomenal. That community was fired up about having her there. She's got a new book that just came out as well called Swimming Against the Current. I believe that's the name of it. Clever title, as you might expect. But go to our website, txvalues.org. Download our app. Okay, do you have our app? Have you gotten our app? You know that we have an app. All right, download that. You'll get some push notifications from time to time. And make sure you are registered to vote. The deadline is October 7th, but it will sneak up on you. I was talking to my son about this last night. He turned 18 in May. His first time to vote is going to be in the presidential election. Super excited he is, but he was talking about, hey, I want to make sure I'm registered. Make sure you're registered to vote. Sometimes you move houses. It doesn't have to matter all that much, but if you move, I think maybe if you move counties, or obviously if you move from another state, you want to make sure all that stuff is updated October 7th. Check out the website iVoter Guide. That is the entity that we partner with in the state of Texas on all things related to voting and elections. We have a prayer breakfast we're going to be a part of on August 26th with Senator Cruz. I believe that's in the Houston area. And then later in the month, too, this is part of a new effort for now between the end of November called Revive Texas that we're partnering with Texas Pastor Council on and Dave Welch. So check out those updates. Listen, if you see value in our work, please consider a donation at txvalues.org. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization. The summer months can be tough for us to fundraise and for people to donate, so do not forget about that, please. Listen, you want to give a $100,000 gift? I'd love to have that. Our collective budget is close to $2 million. Maybe you've got some clever ways called enhanced giving that you want to give, some more sophisticated ways. That stuff is on our website. Check it out or give us a call. But hey, listen, that wraps it up. An extended version of this Facebook Live. We'll put this on YouTube so people can get the value of it. But if you love the work, see the work, sign up for our emails, support the work we do, and that's how together we'll protect faith, family, and freedom in Texas. God bless.